Okay, good afternoon and welcome to Finding Your Leadership Voice webinar sponsored by Prince George's County Public Schools, NAESP, NASSP, and lastly the Wallace Foundation. My name is Dr. Melissa Ellis and I'm the Supervisor of School Leadership Programs in the Office of Talent Development. And please allow me to welcome my colleague, Dr. Jerins Campbell, who is a Leadership Development Coach.
Hello, everyone.
And Ms. Renee Jones, who is an assistant principal at Mother Harris Mother Jones Elementary School in Adelphi, Maryland.
Hello, everyone.
So at this time, I would like to provide some information about our school district. Prince George's County Public Schools is one of the largest school districts in the nation. We're ranked the 25th largest, and we're also the second largest in the state of Maryland. We have approximately 209 schools, approximately 128,000 students, and 19,000 employees. So you can see that we are a very large school district. In conjunction to that, we are a district that serves a quite diverse student population from urban, suburban, and rural communities. Prince George's County Public Schools is one of the 6 sites supported by the Wallace Foundation to participate in the Principal Pipeline Initiative, which investigates the challenge of developing and offering specific supports to assistant principals and aspiring principals. The other 5 districts that are supported by the Wallace Foundation are Gwinnett County Public Schools, Hillsborough County Public Schools, Charlotte-Mecklenburg Schools, Denver Public Schools, and New York City Department of Education. And our school district was awarded $12.5 million in 2011 to support this Principal Pipeline Initiative. Today's session objective is simply this. Participants will develop an understanding of how to find and or strengthen their voice as assistant principals and aspiring principals. So next I would like to talk about the Principal Pipeline Initiative. As I stated before, Prince George's County School was awarded a 5-year, $12.5 million grant from the Wallace Foundation in 2011 to build a Principal Pipeline Initiative. As you can see, there's a diagram on the PowerPoint that talks about 5 levers for student achievement, or 5 levers of change for student achievement that the school should focus on. So with the support of the Wallace Foundation and other partners, Prince George's County Public Schools will actualize this investment in building leadership capacity. So the Principal Pipeline Initiative consists of 5 components. And those components are defining leadership, providing high-quality pre-service training, utilizing selective hiring, providing effective on-the-job support and job evaluation, facilitating alignment, capacity, and quality assurance. All right, so for component 1, define leadership, what does that mean? Prince George's County School defines leadership as a set of skills, talents, competencies, and strengths that are strategically used to articulate and implement a shared common vision with a focus on the analysis of the data, the allocation of resources, development of human capital, and the evolution of instructional practices in a way that drives and maximizes student achievement. With support of the Wallace Foundation and collaboration with internal and external partners, Prince George's County Public Schools defined 8 leadership standards and aligned them to the state and national standards. I'm not going to read the 8 standards, but if you're interested in seeing what our 8 standards are, there is a hyperlink where you could access and review the 8 specific leadership standards. Component 2, which is high-quality service training. This was a recognized weakness in our school district that had been through the lack of consistent, cohesive, district-owned and managed pre-serving training pathway. To address this, our school district used financial support from the Wallace Foundation to develop and implement programs for teachers and assistant principals and others who aspire to become school leaders. Prince George's County Public Schools offered the following programs for aspiring administrators, and that is Admin 1 certification in partnership with neighboring universities. We offered teacher leadership scholarships to complete coursework for Admin 1 certification, which is the prerequisite to become an assistant principal, and a list of programs that we offer for leaders, and that's at Bowie State University, Teacher Leadership, McDaniel College, Admin 1 certification, Johns Hopkins University, Urban Leadership, and University of Maryland offers STEM. Component 3, which is selective hiring. As the role of the principal gets increasingly complex, it is more important that school districts select the right individuals for the job. With the support from the Wallace Foundation, our school district developed a rigorous selection process for principal and assistant principal job openings. So candidates in our school districts have to take the Gallup assessment. They're required to respond to a writing prompt, the review a video clip of teaching, and complete a framework for teaching evaluation, that's through Charlotte Danielson, on the teacher, which is featured in the video clip. This allows Prince George's County Public Schools to screen for dispositions, knowledge, skills, and the ability to demonstrate readiness. Wallace funds have been also supported the launching of our leader tracking system that helps to develop professional growth for individuals in the district, as well as offer a more efficient and equitable way to identify potential candidates for leadership opportunities. Component 4. This is on-the-job training and support. As the role of the principal leader evolves, so must the appraisal process for principals and assistant principals. In response to this identified need, Prince George's County Public Schools developed the Office of Employee Performance and Evaluation, which is called OEPE, and in 2014, in collaboration with the Maryland State Department of Education, Prince George's County Public Schools launched the new evaluation tool for principals and assistant principals system-wide. In addition to the district-wide course offerings listed in the Office of Talent Development, groups of individuals, principals, assistant principals, currently receive focused professional development, including the opportunity to participate in our Summer Leadership Institute for Principals, our Assistant Principals Leadership Institute, our comprehensive induction program that includes New Principals Academy with mentoring and coaching, our School Leaders Network, and professional learning community. Also for Component 4, when I talked about the new evaluation tool, the new tool evaluates school-based leaders based on evidence of professional practice, which is a composite of 50% of the score, as well as student growth, which captures 50% of the score, making a total of 100. The new tool is also aligned with the Prince George's County Leadership Standards and is tied to student achievement. In addition to build the leadership capacity of school leaders, the school district expanded its job professional development and is supported by hiring a leadership development supervisor, that's myself, and 2 leadership development coaches.
Before we go on, there was a question about the Gallup assessment. Could you explain a little bit about what that is?
So that is a tool that we give to aspiring leaders. I don't recall the specific questions. It's been a while since I looked at the question, so I can't tell you what exactly the types of questions that it measured, but it really just, it gives you an overall perspective of how that individual has the capacity to become a leader. Okay, Component 5, alignment, capacity, and quality assurance. This is how we gather and generate data on the effective implementation of the previous 4 components. Prince George's County Public Schools solicited input from a steering committee, adopted a new learner management system, and designed a leadership tracking system. In these efforts and others, the Principal Pipeline Initiative team collaborated with the Department of Human Resources, the Division of Academics, the Office of Information Technology, and other offices in our system, and support from these internal partners as well as the Wallace Foundation and other external partners allowed the Principal Pipeline team to continue progressing towards its goal of building, refining, and sustaining a pipeline for the district. So at this time, we would like to find out from our participants who have joined us today, what does finding your leadership voice mean to you? So if you could take a few seconds, that would be great. And we would like to give you a little clue of what that may mean. So it could be having a vision and communicating it properly to others. Could it be discovering what you are passionate about, what's important to you? Or could it be a self-discovery of who you are and what you want to be as a leader? That's awesome. Actually, it's all three of those things. But I see overwhelmingly that most people said that having a vision and communicating it properly to others is first and foremost. And I would agree. All of those things are important, but definitely I would agree with the first one. What our team developed as, I would say, good answers, and we came to this conclusion by research and by asking assistant principals and principals how did they find their leadership voice. And it is about being able to have a vision and having the ability to communicate it properly to others. It's discovering what you are passionate about, what drives you, your values, your belief system. And lastly, it is about self-discovery of who you are and what you desire to be as a leader. So at this time, we would like to discuss some strategies that we have found helpful in our own personal journey that has helped us to find our leadership voice. And so these are some things that we have found helpful, and we would like to share them with you. So the first thing is that we would recommend that you schedule a meeting with your principal to share your leadership aspirations. So if you are a sitting assistant principal and your desire is to become a principal, I would recommend that you schedule some time to talk about your specific role in your current building. What is it that you would like to learn? If you don't know your personal journey and your desire is to become maybe a principal one day, then you would need to know what touches you would need to get in your current role. So it's just simply just by scheduling a meeting with your principal to share your leadership aspirations would be recommended. You could also gain leadership opportunities within your school building. So after talking to your principal, he or she could identify some particular opportunities in the building or could recommend you to a specific department, such as our department. We have an Office of Talent Development, and maybe your school district has some specific leadership programs or leadership opportunities that may be helpful to you. Secondly, identifying the current learning gap that exists in your current role and your desired position. So we all know that when we assume a position, we don't have everything on that job description. There are some things that we do better than others, and so what we say is, this is where I am, but this is where I desire to go. So we want to look at that gap that exists between what you currently have and what you aspire to be. And once you identify that, then you can put a plan of action together, and that could be in concert with your principal. It could be with other individuals that you may know in your school system that can help you get there. But first and foremost, you have to know what it is that you need growth in. We also suggest that you could read and engage in professional literature to keep abreast of current trends and best practices. NASP is a wonderful organization that affords a lot of professional learning opportunities. It's a great resource, as well as Edutopia is a great website. ASCD is another professional learning organization that offers professional development opportunities for assistant principals, for principals. EdWeek is another helpful resource that you could access via web and learn about what's going on in the world of education, as well as Phi Delta Kappa magazine are for a few of our recommendations. Networking with colleagues is important. A lot of that learning gap is how you could fill that void by going and see what other individuals are doing. So if you're an assistant principal, most of us, we're organized by clusters or zone or some type of faction in your school district. And so oftentimes you may hear of what other schools and other clusters are doing, and you want to know. So all you got to do is just send an email, say, hey, I heard XYZ is going on in your school. Can I come and see? And that's how you learn, by doing and growing with other individuals and not just being isolated. Lastly, leading a professional learning community. So if you're given the opportunity to go to a professional development or take a class or whatever, you can bring that learning back to your building. So you can come back and chat with your principal and say, hey, I went out to this training. I want to share it with my teachers. And that principal could, give you the opportunity to share and learn a professional learning community with some teachers in your building. To push their practice, and that's making you grow as a leader as well. So these are some strategies that are proven, not just lip service, but we know they're happened. They've been successful for me, for Dr. Campbell, and also for Ms. Jones as well. So we have, so if you become an assistant principal in our school district, you are automatically a participant in our assistant principal induction program for 2 years. So currently in our first year and second year cohort, I would say in total we have about 75 to 80 participants. And if you combine both programs, we also have an Aspiring Leaders program for individuals that are sitting APs who desire to become principals. We have 10 individuals in those programs, and we currently have 3 resident principals that are serving in a 12-month capacity and 1 resident principal that is in an 18-month capacity.
Hello, everyone. So I'm going to briefly talk about some of our programs and our relationship with Wallace. Thank you, Dr. Ellis, for doing a great job of explaining our relationship with Wallace earlier. So with the Wallace Foundation, there are 5 pivotal practices that shape instructional practice. This is their belief. They are shaping a vision for academic success for all students, creating a climate hospitable to education, cultivating leadership in others, improving instruction, and managing data, people, and processes. So, of course, we have bought into those beliefs as well as we work to create programs using Wallace grant money. Next. All right, so the PGCPS way, we currently work in the Office of Talent Development, and we offer several leadership preparation programs to aspiring leaders to help them find their leadership voice. And we briefly talked about a few and gave some numbers, but those programs is APIP1, which is the Assistant Principals Induction Program, 1 and 2 for first and second year principals. The ALPS program is the Aspiring Leaders Program for Student Success, and that program is the next step after APIP 1 and 2, where it's open to seasoned administrators, assistant principals who have one step, who are close to being principals, and that preparation program is designed to get them over the hump and for them to become new principals. And we also have another path, which is the Resident Principals Program, and that's a residency for the most part where aspiring principals are teamed up with a supervising principal at a current school, and so they shadow the principal for the first half of the school year, and then the second half of the school year they take over the school while that supervising principal goes on to work in central office roles and understands what happens in central office as, just in case they want to continue to grow their professionalism and move up in the ranks. And so with the resident principals, again, we have 3 individuals in that program right now that hopefully will become principals within the next month or so. And for next year, we will have 3 going in. And then we also have an 18-month resident who started in January of this year and will finish in June of 2017. And then the CPIP program, that's the comprehensive program, comprehensive principal induction program, sorry about that, and that's for our new principals. And within that program, we offer mentoring services for the first 2 years of their principalship. They also meet monthly in the New Principals Academy, where we go over best practices for them to be successful and really bring in different people from around the county to in-service them on hot topics that they really need information on as they go throughout their first year. Okay, so to go deeper into the APIP program, again, it's the Assistant Principals Induction Program. It's a 2-year program where first and second year assistant principals engage in varied experiences that include a monthly training program aligned to the 8 Prince George's County Public Schools leadership standards. And I think Dr. Ellis briefly mentioned that with a link that you can go and see each standard. But those standards are or were created that, and aligned to the ISLIC standards before they were modified and the name changed. Also, the assistant principals in APIP 1 and 2 participate in leadership development team meetings. So that meeting happens 4 times a year each quarter, and so the assistant principals are teamed up with their school's principal, their school's instructional director, which is the principal supervisor, someone from central office that can come from any department, and then someone, a leadership development coach or someone from the Office of Talent Development that has served as a principal. And so when we meet with the assistant principals, we have them do a self-assessment just to see where they are and what areas they may need to grow in. And the leadership development team works to help them grow in those areas by giving, advice and strategies for them to move forward. Another part of the APIP program is each candidate creates and maintains an e-portfolio. So that portfolio has a lot of information in it. Their resume, actually their self-assessment is in there. Their VALED scores if they're in APIP 2, in their professional growth plan. So all of that is included in the electronic portfolio. Next. And again, the next program after APIP 2, if the participants so chose, is the OUTS program, which is the Aspiring Leaders Program for Student Success. And this is our preferred principal preparation program. So when individuals leave this program, well, when they enter the program, they should be focused on becoming a principal. So that's where their minds should be, and that's how we implement the modules, which are 10 for the year. And those, it's on various topics like leading and learning in Prince George County, standards-based instructional systems, recruiting and selection, and the principal's role in human resources, using data and technology to improve instruction, and the principal as an advocate and builder of a just, fair, and caring community, which is around ethics. So we look at all of those topics. We also have the participants go away for a 2-day retreat where we do simulations with them to just see where their head is and how they would deal with various scenarios as if they were in the principal role. And a lot of leadership development coaches are there and working alongside them to help them really help them maneuver through the simulation to meet with success. And again, after out, you can go either one of 2 ways. You can become a principal, you can interview and be selected to become a principal, or you can become a resident principal if we feel or administration feels that you need like one other set of skills that you might not have gained through the other principal preparation program. So again, we have 3 that are graduating pretty much within a month who have served as resident principals, and we have 3 going in, and 1 is an 18-month resident. And so the resident principals preparation program primary purpose is to grow leaders through the following program goals: to enhance participants' performance, assess and enhance participants' leadership capabilities, capitalize on expertise of proven leaders, to provide learning experiences through peer-based groups, a group of professionals, and develop participants' leadership through year-long experiences as a research-based, that are research-based and contextual.
What if you're an assistant principal and you don't really want to move on to be a principal? Can you just choose to do one of these, or how does that work? Do you have to go through all of these different programs?
Well, with the APIP 1 and 2 program, it's mandatory that you go through that 2-year-long preparation program. That's a requirement. That's part of the job description prior to taking on an assistant principal's position, so there's no choice in that matter. With the OUTS program, you have a choice. So that's for the experienced assistant principals, and normally those who don't want to become principals will not apply to be in that program. However, some people apply to be in that program and want to do other things in central office, for instance. So we, the focus is the principalship, but individuals have been admitted knowing that they didn't want to become a principal, wanted to do something else in central office. But the program's focus is to groom the next generation of principals for the ALPS program, as well as for the resident principals program. So you're not going to apply and be selected if that's not your focus. For all the other assistant principals that don't want to become principals, we have monthly principals meetings, assistant principals meetings, where we make sure that they're brought up to speed on the new trends and what is expected in Prince George's County. So they meet monthly, and we also sometimes have opportunities with school leaders network and things of that nature to help them to continue to hone their skills as assistant principals. But these programs that I'm speaking of are the preferred route to the principalship. All right, so this is more information about the resident principals. So, and I spoke briefly about it, but during the second quarter, the roles reverse, and the supervising principal shadows the resident during the same activities, using the leadership standards as a basis for providing feedback and mentoring. Then, of course, during the third and fourth quarters, the resident principal takes charge of the building of all the operations, and really we encourage them not to reach out to the supervising principal, but really take on the role and the responsibilities of that building and stand there as the principal for the the third and fourth quarters of the school year. Okay, I was just going to read the poll question. What is the primary way your district helps you find your leadership voice?
All right.
Some of the options may be they pay for leadership classes at the university or college. They offer district professional development activities. They provide leadership resources, or I do my own PD with a mentor leader. Okay, well, that's good to know. That 50% of the folks out there, their districts offer professional development activities within the school district. It's really hard to find money, I guess, for professional development for large districts. So some of you may be coming from large districts. Also, so one of our suggestions would be to maybe talk to executive level leadership and see how you can partner with various universities to see if they, if you create that partnership, then maybe there could be discounts in tuition for continuing education or something to that effect. That's what we've done here in Prince George's County, where we partner with, we have 4 preferred universities, colleges and universities that we partner with, and it benefits our teachers and our pre-leaders a great deal. And so what you're looking at right now is some of the examples of what some other school districts do to help with their pipeline initiatives and how they invest back into their assistant principals. So in Montgomery County, they have a AP pool. The program begins with a recruitment effort at the teacher level via a series of future administrator workshops. These workshops qualify candidates to enter the assistant principal's eligibility pool. And then after that, if you're successful, then you become an assistant school administrator. So note the difference. It's not an assistant principal, but an assistant school administrator. And so this is an 11-month position that carries similar responsibility to those as an assistant principal, but they also have a leadership development program which includes 5 levels of training and support. And at the conclusion of the AP 2 years, the AP candidate is formally appointed as an assistant principal. So they have a lot of levels before you become even an assistant principal. And District of Columbia Public Schools, they have the Mary Jane Patterson Fellowship for Aspiring Principals. So there should be more information on that. Next.
Well, hello, everyone. My name is Renee Jones, and I am currently in my second year of being assistant principal at Mary Harris Mother Jones Elementary School. And first, I would like to thank the panel for inviting me here to be a part of this webinar and to share my story. It has been quite the journey, but I am definitely pleased and proud of the progress that I've made over the past 2 years, and it's definitely thanks to the principal pipeline programs that we have here in Prince George's County Public Schools. As I stated, I'm a second-year principal at Mary Harris Mother Jones Elementary School, which is located in Adelphi, Maryland, Prince George's County, Maryland. What you're looking at now before you are the demographics of my school building. As you can see, we are a fairly large elementary school. We have 871 students, 3 administrators, and a staff of about 72 teachers, specialists, and also paraprofessionals. This slide is particularly important to me because it shows the diversity of our school, but it also reminds me that as a leader, it helps me to drive the message that no matter who the student is, no matter where they fall within the dynamics of our building, they are important. And my goal is for high academic achievement for each of them. And this definitely resonates with me because of my story, and actually that stems from childhood and how I became to be the leader that I am. I'm going to share with you my story. It has definitely had a great impact in me finding my leadership voice. As a child, on paper, I was a straight A student all through elementary school. And it wasn't until I got into 5th grade that my parents were told that I wasn't the reader that they thought I was. In fact, I wasn't a reader at all. I was a word caller. With no comprehension, I was a below grade level reader. My parents were surprised to hear this information, and they were really frustrated, but even angry as they went on to talk to my previous teachers to find out why is it that over the years I have received A's but have not really earned them. One particular teacher, in fact, shared with my parents that I earned the grades that I had because I was a good kid and I didn't give her any problems. I came to school every day and I was pretty with long hair. Well, needless to say, my parents were livid. As a child, I knew I felt different after hearing that message from my teachers, but it actually, as I think about it as an adult, it has been the fuel behind my drive to be an instructional leader. My childhood experience is the reason why I show up to my building every day. It is the reason why I spend time with my teachers. It is the reason why I spend time with parents and with children, because I know what it's like to sit in a chair and be confused, and no one is taking steps to help you. I know what it's like, I guess, as a parent to not being able to advocate for your students, and you're looking for a leader to help you. I can't describe for you, no matter what words I can put together to tell you how I felt in that moment. But what I can tell you is that, as I previously said, it has fueled my fire to be an instructional leader. And I will, as a leader, continue to show up for my students every day because I want to support them, I want to support their parents, and I want high academic achievement for all of our students. Next. So simply put, first and foremost, at the center of my leadership voice is this quote that you see in the middle. People will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel. I really, really, really believe in building those relationships. I really believe in treating people like people. And I think that has been the basis of me being able to build relationships with my teachers. And what I've learned is that it's important to build those relationships before getting down to the work. And actually, building the relationship is what's making the work, is what's making getting the work done easier. It is important for me to be seen as an instructional leader, but it's also important for me to know that my teachers feel supported in their work. I do know I was a classroom teacher for 10 years, and I do know that teaching is a very, very rewarding job, but it is not easy. So the basis of my leadership voice is to treat people like people, to make time for my teachers, but to also give my teachers a voice, also provide my teachers with a space and time for goal setting and reflection, and also provide my teachers with differentiated professional development opportunities. And you can see each of those reflected in the visuals that I have there on the screen. Next. So in an effort to help me to treat my teachers like people and to make time for them and to give them a voice and a time for reflection and goal setting, and to provide them with differentiated instruction, differentiated professional development opportunities, I created what I call Feedback Fridays. And Feedback Fridays is a time where I meet with teachers one-on-one once a month for 30 to 40 minutes to check in with them and to support them. Feedback Fridays is also an opportunity for me to focus on the theory of change, which is part of our coherence framework, the work that we're doing in our district. We believe in focusing on culture, data, and performance. And as you can see there on the slide, there are ways that, I'm going to talk about those in just a few minutes, ways that I build culture with my students, and we take time to look at data and also performance as well. But in our district, we believe that focusing on culture, data, and performance will allow us to move students and to move them at high levels of achievement. So this is a way that I connect with my teachers. This Feedback Friday came about this school year. This is my second year, as I previously stated. This school year, within the first 2 weeks of school, I had the opportunity to visit each teacher's classroom. It was nothing formal, but just to check in and kind of see where my teachers were and check in on the students, see what was going on in the classroom. And I just took some informal notes for myself just so that I could get a feel for the support that teachers would need throughout the school year. When I got back to my office and I started to categorize my wonderings, I just thought, wow, we have a lot of work to do. Not that it wasn't possible, but we had a lot of work to do. And I really needed to wrap my brain around how it was going to look. Some of the things that I noted was classroom management was, challenging for some of our novice teachers. Questioning and discussion techniques is something that, as a district, as we went throughout the school year, that's a focus for us, for our school district as well, not just within my building. Setting expectations and differentiated instruction was just some of the things that my teachers would need assistance with. So I thought about how is it that I can support teachers through this. I didn't want to wait and have that to be a part of our monthly staff meeting. Sometimes teachers are leery of, I guess, saying what their challenges are in front of their colleagues. And I wanted to give them a place and provide them with a safe place so that they can share any challenges that they're having. So I thought about how can I come up with a time so that I can meet one-on-one with my teachers. So I came up with the Feedback Friday. I immediately went to my office and I created a Google Doc, shared it with the teachers, let them know that starting the month of October we were going to meet for Feedback Fridays, and it was one-on-one time. The only two non-negotiables that I had was that we had to talk about evidence of student learning, and we also had to talk about their pacing within our curriculum document. Teachers were invited to create the agenda and share it with me 2 days prior to the meeting so that I can prepare myself for the meeting. Teachers were also welcome to add an item of professional development or any other need that they wanted to discuss during that period of time, as well. And I must say that the response that I received from the teachers was overwhelming. They were very welcoming. They were excited. They were prepared. Sometimes I got the agenda 3 or 4 days in advance versus the 2 days that I really needed it to get prepared. So during the Feedback Fridays, I offer the teachers a moment to just check in. And they can talk about anything that's on their mind. They can give a special shout out to a student or a colleague that has helped them along the way. But I start off by letting the teacher have a voice so that he or she feels comfortable. And that has really helped with us being able to build relationships. It is helping me to build my teacher's capacity because it's not just based on what I see when I do their formal or their informal observation. It's the teacher saying to me, hey, Ms. Jones, I'm having some difficulty with classroom management. What resources do you have? Or is there someone in the building that you can point me to? Another thing that I do on Feedback Fridays, if the teachers say that they need help with classroom management or questioning strategies, we will use that 30 to 40 minute time to go visit a teacher in the school who has shown proficiency in those areas so that the teacher has a model. So for me, it is important that I am seen as an instructional leader. And in order to be an instructional leader, I have to be there to support my teachers, build relationships with them, take time to look at data. We look at student work. We look at all kinds of assessments and exit tickets. We also look at behavior data and attendance data because those things affect academic achievement as well. And we may need to get on the phone and call parents, or we may need to come up with a behavior plan or some incentives for things going on in the classroom. So it's really a time where I'm able to connect with teachers one-on-one, but it's specific to what's going on in their classroom. And I briefly talked about performance and how I'm always in the teacher's classrooms, and as a matter of fact, if I go in the classroom and I don't get feedback within 24 hours, I get a knock on my door and email saying, Ms. Jones, what's going on? I know you were in my room, because they're used to getting that feedback. It's part of our culture, it's what we do, and the teachers have been very receptive to it. Next.
Before you go on, Renee, can I ask a question? Does this information feed into their formal evaluation system, and how do you connect with the principal, or how do you work with the principal on that?
So this information is not connected to their formal. My teachers know, I will say it, I say it all the time, I am an administrator, but right now I'm taking off my administrator hat and I'm being a resource to you. So any feedback that I give them, it is connected to their formal observation, and the fact that my look-fors are the same look-fors that any administrator has during their formal observation. But I do give them feedback in those areas so that they are prepared for their formal observation. Everything is, all of the work is connected. I didn't want it to be seen as something in isolation. I wanted it to be real. I wanted it to be connected to our daily work. So in doing that, my informals are definitely linked to their formals, and the feedback definitely aligns to the expectations of the formal observation. The way I connect with my administrator is that we have admin team meetings twice a week, Tuesdays and Fridays, and we sit and we talk, and we share notes, and we just get a good handle on what's going on in our building. So my advice to anyone who is looking to become an assistant principal, even a principal, is to take time to build your tool belt. And by that I mean build your repertoire, build your bank of strategies and resources that you can pull from while you're in the work. I am so appreciative to Prince George's County Public Schools because I've actually had 3 opportunities to participate in leadership development opportunities. So my advice would be to take advantage of every opportunity that you can, so that when you are sitting in the seat, you have multiple resources and experiences to pull from. If I may be transparent for a moment, when I sat in the assistant principal seat, I did not know the magnitude of the job that I was stepping into. I knew what I saw from other assistant principals, but it's something like, for me, I didn't know it until I was actually in the seat, because the work can be overwhelming. I didn't know where to start. I didn't know how to start. So being able to participate in programs that I'm getting ready to talk about has really helped to shape my thinking around my leadership practices and what it is that I want it to look like. I did start with the new leaders program, and for me, when I started that program, it had been 6 years since I had been school-based. I was actually, I worked with the elementary reading office as a resource teacher, but my focus there was curriculum documents, not necessarily working with students. But when I started the New Leaders program, it offered me opportunities to learn instruction again. When I first started teaching, Common Core standards were not developed, but me participating in the New Leaders program, I was able to learn about the Common Core standards and what they should look like in instruction. So I'm thankful to that program for opening up my lens and reshaping my thinking around instruction. Last year, I was in the assistant principal induction program. I actually served 1 year in that program, and that program offered me a very clear understanding of the 8 leadership standards. I can recall maybe my first month on the job. This was before I started APIP, my first meeting, and I was told to identify my 8 objectives for the year and what I was going to do, and what the work was going to look like, and the evidence that I was going to display. And I said to myself, "Oh my gosh, they want me to do this by myself? Like, what is this?" I had no idea. I knew what the standards were, but to actually explain to my principal what I was going to do to meet those standards, I was completely puzzled. But I must say, through the work of the assistant principal induction program, I currently have a clear understanding of those 8 leadership standards. We also had lots and lots of opportunities to network with others. As Dr. Campbell said, we meet once a month, or we met once a month. And what's great is that you're working with a group of people who are seeking leadership just like you. There's no value that you can put on those conversations that you have and those relationships that you build while in that program. Dr. Campbell also spoke about the leadership development team, and it was very beneficial to work through an instructional concern that we had in our building, and we had to present it to a panel of 3 to 4 people, and we received feedback. This year, I've had the opportunity to work with ALPS, which is the Aspiring Leaders Program for Student Success, and this program has been absolutely wonderful. That's not the word I want to use, but it's been very beneficial to me developing my leadership voice. Again, we have those monthly meetings, but they're more meaningful because those meetings are connected to the work of the county. Our county initiatives like the Coherence Framework, Leadership and Self-Deception, Strength Finders. We also receive interviewing tips and mock interviews and things like that. I spoke about leadership and self-deception. That's basically, that's where I get the basis of my leadership, was treating people like people. So that's the premise around that book there. We do a lot of work around strength finders in PGCPS, and my 5 strengths are responsibility, consistency, achiever, focus, and discipline. And knowing my strengths has been beneficial because I'm able to share that information with my teachers. They know that my #1 strength is responsibility, and what that means is that I'm going to show up when I say I'm going to show up. I'm going to do something when I say I'm going to do it. And if I say no to something, it really means that I can't do it, because I'm going to do my best to do everything that I say I'm going to do. It also helps my teachers know what it is that I honor. I honor you being on time. I honor you showing up for work and doing your job in a timely fashion. So knowing my strengths and being able to share that information with my teacher, it just works for a better working environment and how we can interact with each other. It also allows me to see where my strengths are not, so that I can focus on being intentional about adding people to my team who may be a strategic thinker. Not that I'm not a strategic thinker, but it's not a strength. So I know that when it comes down to planning, I may need to pull someone on my team who is a strategic thinker. I had a conversation with my instructional director because I'm not, building relationships is not something that comes natural to me, but it has become more natural to me because it's something that I'm more aware of that I need to do. And so when I know my strengths and the people that I work with know my strengths and we know each other's strengths, it just makes for a better working environment. Also, through the ALPS program, I have been assigned a mentor. I hope it's appropriate if I give a shout out to Courtney King, principal at James Madison Middle in Prince George's County. She is my mentor who supports me. She comes to my school, shadows me, and gives me feedback. We talk on the phone, and if there's a problem that I'm having at school, she can, if it's a fire that I need to put out, she can give me some quick advice. If it's something that I can hold off on, we'll speak about it in the evening. So having a mentor has definitely helped me think things through because she pushes my practice. Also, my current principal, if I can give a shout out to Dr. Newman Brown at Mother Jones, who has really challenged me this year and pushes me to think outside of the box. At any point in time, I can say to her, Dr. Brown, I need a thought partner. What do you think about this? Hey, I need a thought buddy. What do you think about that? So it's nice to build relationships with people, but also have those people that you can talk to seek immediate advice from. In my building, there are 3 administrators, so I would also like to shout out Ms. Sonia Gasson, who is a assistant principal in my building as well, who has been quite helpful in helping me find my leadership voice as well, because she's definitely another thought partner that I'm able to share ideas with. Again, if you want the position, my advice is to do the work and definitely seek out help from others, but take advantage of every opportunity you were given. Every day, one thing that the leadership team tells us is that every day is an interview. Your work is going to speak for itself. So whenever you are faced with an opportunity, I would just take it. And I'm seeing a question here, if I may answer.
Can you briefly tell us, were you chosen for the position, or did you get to pick the school that you're at now? It sounds like you have just a lovely situation with lots of support.
I do have a lovely situation. I did not choose the position. And I will say it is a position that I would not have chosen for myself. Because it's a very large school. When I was school-based, I was in a school with no more than 300 students. And to walk into, last year at Mary Harris Mother Jones, we had over 900 students. As you can see from the slide that I showed in the beginning, we have a very large ESOL population. I had no experience with ESOL population prior to last year. So it was very, very challenging to walk into a school that was, number one, very large, 2, the population was something that I was not used to dealing with. And to go along with the large population, there are a lot of teachers and staff members there. So just a lot of different dynamics, but I was very nervous walking in, but I must say it has been the best experience these past 2 years, this year in particular. I feel that through the work of the county, through these programs, that I have really been able to take ownership of the leadership position. I've been able to define what it should look like, well, what I want it to look like for me, but also making sure that I'm hitting the initiatives of our school system as well. So no, it wasn't a position that was that I chose. It was given to me. Or I was chosen for it.
Yeah, it sounds like though it's turned out very nicely for you. But a lot of our principals, a lot of our people who are attending this may be in schools where they don't have all those supports, and they don't have the ideal. Here's a really good question that came in. It says, how do you deal with a principal that does not allow you to learn about or experience some of the areas needed to be a principal, i.e. budgeting, hiring employees, personnel issues? What if your district does not have a principal pipeline or an AP induction program? What would be your advice to them?
My advice would be to network as much as you can. I would definitely make sure that I attend conferences and also have memberships with some publications like Educational Leadership so that you can read about it. I would visit neighboring counties school systems if they have some of those, just to see what it's like in those school systems.
And I liked your idea about getting a mentor. Now, was that mentor chosen for you, or how did you go about choosing the mentor you have?
The mentor, Courtney King, was chosen for me as part of the ALPS program. All members of ALPS were given assigned a mentor. But our mentors are in different schools than we are. So I'm an elementary school assistant principal, and my mentor is a middle school principal. So we're able to share experiences, and I'm able to have some different experiences through her lens as well.
That's great.
In honor, the mentor, Courtney, that Renee mentioned when we talked about the resident principal program. So Courtney is a supervising principal, so a resident was assigned to her, and part of her transition, so when the resident assumes responsibility of the school and the supervising principal leaves, and they go to a department in central office. So Courtney worked in our office for about a month or so before she switched to work with her instructional director. And one of her responsibilities was to serve as a mentor to our apps. So that's how we are able to plug in and have a mentor for that specific program.
Oh, I see. That's wonderful. Let's talk a little bit about the role of the APA. I noticed, Renee, you have a lot of instructional leadership responsibilities, but you know that a lot of APs get stuck into one track. You know, they might be in discipline or cafeteria duty or managerial duty. What would be your advice, and this is for all of you, how do you switch tracks? What if you want to change lanes? You know, what kinds of things might make that happen, if, you know, that you could suggest?
So in the beginning, when Dr. Ellis spoke, she talked about having a conversation with your current principal. The first thing I would suggest is to have that conversation, that you are looking to serve in more leadership roles and not just in that manager lane. And that could open up more opportunities for the aspiring principal or the aspiring leader.
Yeah, and along with that conversation, I mean, for Prince George's County, it's been a focus that, you know, we are not managers, we're instructional leaders, so it has to pour down to the assistant principal's ranks. So when you become an assistant principal, the purpose of that AP-IP program is to let you understand early that you are an instructional leader. So we're talking about instruction when we go through the 8 standards and things of that nature. Everything is around instruction. When we have the leadership development team, we're talking about instruction and the data-wise process, which is our school improvement process. So everything that assistant principals are getting is around instruction. So that shift has to be made throughout the nation if we're going to see student achievement. It takes more than one instructional leader in the building. The principal can't do it all. So the assistant principal has to take on the role of being an instructional leader, aside from just doing their evaluation of their observations. And I mean, that's vitally important. So, you know, you only have lunch duty for a certain period of time and bus duty for a certain period of time. That other time you could be doing informal observations, going in and out of classrooms, seeing where the teachers are, seeing what they need help with or direction on. So it becomes it goes back to that individual assistant principal, because there's always opportunity for that person to build their own capacity within a school building, even if the principal is not helpful in that manner. The assistant principal still has the right to go into classrooms to observe instruction, to give feedback and things of that nature. So you can almost work around your principal in some aspects, and then they'll see your value and pull you on. But it starts, again, with that conversation that Dr. Ellis spoke about earlier. That's the first thing you have to do. You have to build rapport with your principal, no matter how hard it is. You have to see them as a person, and that's some of the training that we get here with leadership and self-deception through the Arbiter Foundation out of Utah is seeing people as people and not objects, and being able to relate to individuals. So it starts with that relationship between the principal and the assistant principal.
Very good. Here's a good question, which kind of leads into that. How do you balance on a daily basis dealing with discipline versus being an instructional leader?
Well, I'm going to let Renee deal with that, but when instruction is on point and teachers are doing what they need to do, then students are doing what they need to do, so the discipline goes away. I experienced that as a principal. We didn't have discipline issues because instruction was occurring all day long. There was no time to get into trouble.
And go ahead. And when I was in that role, I can just share my experience. You have to communicate to the teachers about how discipline is going to be handled. And so, we all respond and hold teachers accountable for like core one type of behaviors, like out of my seat, throwing a pencil, talking off task, those types of things. Those types of things you can't send children to the office for that. We're not going to fill our day with those type of level one behaviors. And so it's about setting expectations about what is important. And when you communicate that to the teachers about those types of things, you're responsible for setting the culture and the management systems up in your building, and then you have them school-wide. But it's once again about expectations, the culture in your building, and letting teachers know what's important, and that instruction is important, and you're not going to spend your day putting out fires of that nature.
And I really don't have much to add other than that I agree with what Dr. Campbell and Dr. Ellis said, because we have very, very few behavior issues in our building, because our students know and our teachers know that we are all about instruction.
That's great. Thank you. How many teachers do you work with, Renee? When you said 900 students, how many teachers do you work with on a weekly basis, would you say?
Okay, so our school is pre-K-5. I'm the administrator for grades 1 and 5, and that's 12 teachers. But then I also have the specialists, the ESOL, and the SPED specialists, and the paras within that within those grade levels as well. But in any day, I can work with teachers in any grade level, pre-K-5, but it's just when it comes down to being present at collaborative planning or meeting with parents, I meet with 1 and 5. But in any given day, oh wow, it could be so it's about, I interact with all teachers, all 72 of them.
Wow, that's incredible. Here's another good question. Reading classes tend to be more challenging, or do you feel that reading classes tend to be more challenging? How do you handle these types of classes?
What kind of classes? What was that?
You said reading classes?
Yes, reading classes.
Well,
Or do you? Maybe you don't in your school.
No, we don't. I mean, our reading classes are set up where our students engage in whole group instruction for the first 20 minutes, and then after that, the teacher meets with 3 or possibly 4 different reading groups for 20 minutes. Our teachers have routines set up and in place, and everything is prepared. Our teachers know this is one of our non-negotiables, that we are planned and prepared every day, because at any given moment, an administrator can come in and ask for your lesson plan. So our teachers take that very seriously, because as instructional leaders in our building, we take that seriously as well. So as our teachers, as our students engage, as our teachers work with our students in small group instruction, there are sensors set up around the room. Sometimes there could be a ESOL or special educator teacher assisting as well. We've worked really hard to put structures in place to eliminate off-task behavior. So we don't have any additional challenges doing reading instruction.
That's great. Thank you so much. All right. So we are now toward the end. We have this question, and would like to ask you to use the question box to write in your response. What's the one thing that helped you find your leadership voice? Please take a moment and write your answers in the question box.
And Honor, if I may, as a panelist, answer this question, because I know, and we've talked about, all school districts may not have these programs available to them. But I can say that for me, the one thing that has helped me to find my leadership voice is just actually doing the work, and having that mentor to give me that feedback, and being able to have someone to talk some of my challenges through. But actually being in the school building and doing the work, and being reflective about my practice, being honest about what it is that I'm doing, has actually helped me to find my leadership voice.
That's wonderful. And when you say the work, what do you explain a little more? So
that's, just my daily, the daily work of being in classrooms. Starting off by greeting students in the morning and speaking to parents as they enter the building. I start every morning by walking the building to see that the teachers are in place and that the students are in place. And, is there anything out of place? There's a feel, once you get to know your building, there's a feel and a sound that your building has when you walk it every morning. So I just like to make sure that teachers are in place, the students are in place. If we have subs in the building, do they know what's going on and schedules and things like that, being in the hallways, being visible, being in classrooms, and not just the classrooms of our content area, but also taking time to visit PE and music. I love to play basketball with our 5th grade students. I'll take my heels off and shoot a couple hoops, and they love it. Going in the cafeteria, sometimes having lunch with students, pulling students in your office, having lunch bunch, having cookies and conversations. That's one thing I like to do with my students. I'll just have some cookies in my office, invite students in to come and chat with me. It's just doing the work. Helps to define who you are as a leader.
Ooh, that's wonderful. I've got some other comments from participants, what they say their answer is. Let me read those to you. Wendy says, knowing who I am and striving to do deep with instruction versus going thin with many initiatives. That's how she finds her leadership voice. Sabra says, finding my leadership voice has come from great intersections since I have been at 4 schools in 5 years. Wow. Renee, I think this has been, this has to be the resources you have given us, because my school district is small and doesn't really have the people or resources to go to. Barbara says, I have made a personal and professional goal for my life, and even though I do not have as much support that others may have, I still focus on my goals and know that they will be attainable, and even doing PD such as this webinar will help me to continue to learn to be that leader. And then Valerie says, networking with other colleagues and my mentor on a weekly basis has helped her find her leadership voice.
So next on this screen are some helpful resources that we would suggest that will help you find your leadership voice. So as Renee and Dr. Campbell talked about earlier, Strength Finders is huge in our school district. Everyone, if you email us, you will see a response with our top 5 strengths on it. And so we have a very large school system, so there is no way that we can know everybody that works in the school system, but this is one way that we communicate our top 5 strengths. We put it in our email, and so when you receive an email, and although we might not know each other, you can look and I can say, hey, look at Jaren's top 5 strengths. He's responsible, futuristic, relator, belief, competition. You can read mine, relator, individualization, strategic, belief, responsibility, and Renee's responsibility, consistent, achiever, discipline, focus. So you can see we have some commonalities there. That's a good segue to learn about other people's strengths, to know how to communicate with them, to avoid pitfalls, and you know, just a good way to communicate and learn.
And it just helps you understand yourself better. And even though we're putting this information up there, it's something that's an investment of less than $15. I mean, if you purchase the book Strength Finders, you can take the survey in the back of the book. They'll give you a code or whatever, $15. If you don't want the book, you can just go online and purchase a site license or whatever so that you can take the survey again, $15. And it just helps you to really understand yourself. Before I took Strength Finders, I thought that these might have been my strengths or whatever, but it just reconfirmed who I am and what I'm strong in. So I don't really try to grow in areas of my weakness. I just focus on my strengths. And again, like Ms. Jones said, I staff around my weaknesses because guess what? I'm not going to be the smartest person in the room. The people around me are going to be much brighter than me, but I'm going to be confident in who I am and how I react and work based on my strengths. So it's definitely worth the investment of $15.
And another resource that we don't necessarily use in our district, but I have used it before, and you could take the Leadership Practices Inventory, which is called the LPI by Jim Kouzes and Barry Posner, and it gives you information about your 5 practices of exemplary leadership, and it talks about your level of commitment and engagement there, and it gives you a profile, so that's helpful. The World Personality Test. This test is based on the 16 types of personality, psychological types. Once you take it, it takes about 10 minutes. I think it's maybe about 15 questions, and it gives you like a 4-letter code, and it describes if you're like sensing, thinking, feeling, or judging type personality, so that can be helpful to you as well, and how you interact with other individuals. And it's also a good identifier in the type of job that you would probably excel in also. And it's free, so there's no cost associated with this test. The Leadership and Self-Deception, that's a text that our school system is invested in, and it's by the Arbinger Institute. And if you can purchase this book, it's very helpful. It lets you know a lot about yourself and how to work with others. So this book focuses on 2 concepts, the in the box and out of the box. So when you hear people say in the box, it refers to when people see others as the source of the problem. They see themselves as the center of the world and view others as objects. Out of the box refers to when people see others as people. They see that others too have cares, fears, hopes, and needs, and it motivates people around them when people are out of the box. And so in our system, you'll hear people say, or are you in the box today, or are you out of the box? And so that's the context behind that. Mindtools.com, that's another resource. It's an online training program that teaches management, leadership, and personally effective skills. And all this is focused on helping you be a better person in what you do in your role. Next. the last slide.
If I could I add another plug for a resource, and that's if NAESP has a summer annual conference over July 6th through 8th. And it's going to be here in D.C. at the Gaylord Convention Center. And that, too, I'd like to invite people to look at our website at www.naesp.org and look at all the sessions and different things that might be also a good professional development tool. It's during the summer, so generally people have time to go to it, but that's a good resource, too. But go ahead.
Okay, and the last slide just says thank you for your participation in joining us in this webinar and finding your leadership voice. We have truly enjoyed doing the webinar. We actually had the opportunity, Renee and Jorins and I, we had the opportunity earlier this school year to do this workshop in a workshop format at our AP symposium that was held at the National Harbor. And so some of the information in the slide was the same, but it was quite more interactive because we could really engage the participants in a different type of format. But nonetheless, we did enjoy today's webinar, and we have our contact information here. So if individuals that have joined us today and they want to reach out to us, we enjoy paying it forward and sharing our knowledge and skills with others. So you can feel free to email us, and we will definitely be in touch with you.
Great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And on behalf of NAESP, we want to thank PG County for this partnership and NASSP. It's been a wonderful series of assistant principal webinars, and I think this is one of our best. So you guys have done a great job. We have recorded today's session. It will be available within 48 hours on the naesp.org website under webinars. I also have a great tool. Wendy has shared, one of our participants has shared another great tool for you all to note, and that is, she says, the Insights Discovery is another great leadership tool. We use it in the Norfolk Public Schools, and it is a strengths indicator, but also helps individuals to tailor their communication to people's preferential style. All our administrators and counselors use that tool. Administrators use it when giving feedback to staff and also when speaking with parents. So put that in your tool belt too, and that's called the Insights Discovery. And lastly, Cammie says, oh, how can we access a copy of the slides? Those also, the presentation slides are available on our website at under the naesp.org/webinars. So look up this webinar and you will get both the slides and the recording. So again, I'd like to thank everyone for your participation this afternoon.